Well, good evening once again. It's me once again, Rashda Dixon Vixen, and tonight I'm going to show you, since I've already shown you more of my DVD collection, I'm going to show you, last time I showed you my sci-fi action section. Now tonight I'm going to show you the the comedy section. I got the wrong one here. You have the right one here. This is my comedy section, and it was a like comedy slash musical, but I had so much musical I couldn't fit any more of these in here. So now it's time for me. I'm going to show you my comedy section of my DVD collection. This is the American Pie Trilogy. And the three ones were the best, but after they did other straight to DVD video things, I wasn't too interested. But eventually I bought this at a pawn shop about 11 years ago. So eventually, years ago, and when I opened it up, there was American Pie and American Pie 2. But there was a disc American Wedding was missing. So luckily for me, I went over to Cheapies one day and bought American Wedding and put it right where it is. And I'm like, okay, so if you want a great memory of your youth, and this is a movie that you have to see. I thought an American Reunion, I thought it was okay, but they should have left it at 3. So that's what I think. Okay. Airplane. This is Airplane 1 and Airplane 2, the sequel. Both from Jerry. Yeah, they were directed by. This one's directed by Jim Abrahams, David Zucker, and Jerry Zucker. And Airplane 2 was directed by Ken Finkelman. But eventually, both of these are a blast. I love the airplane movies. I remember sawing them when I was younger, and I just adored it. It was voted. Airplane was one of the most funny. It's voted one of the 10 funniest movies ever made by the American Film Institute. So it's got an all-star cast, and it's like a spoof to the airport movies. And Airplane 2, it is a riot. It is so funny. It's got another one of those cast members, members, an all-star cast, and Airplane. If you love both movies, you gotta get them. Yep, very funny. This one is a cult classic. This is George Lucas's first directorial film debut. Sort of. It's called American Graffiti, and it started out the careers of many of our favorite songs. It came out in I think it came out in 1973. It came out the year my brother was born, and it was also produced by Francis Ford Coppola, who did The Godfather, and it's got an all-star cast. It's got Harrison Ford, Richard Dreyfuss, Suzanne Summers, Mackenzie Phillips, Cindy Williams, Ron Howard. A lot of stars a lot of them are like big stars as of today. So this is a great film. It's a classic hit. So if you love the 50s, and if you love George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola, American Graffiti is the best way to go. This is National Lampoon's Animal House, another cult classic directed by John Landis. And it is like one of the funniest comedies. It starred the late great John Belushi, and it's from National Lampoon's, and I love National Lampoon's. It's got a lot of funny stuff. The toga. Oh, and it is just hilarious. It's about the 1960s campus life. Celebrates 7 years of college down the drain. They go food fight, and they go food fight, like food fight, like, it is just hilarious. It is the most hilarious movie I've ever seen. This is the 30th anniversary edition, and it came out in 1978. And if you love National Lampoons, if you love the great John Belushi, it's got a great cast. Tim Matheson's in it, John Vernon, Tom Hulse, Donald Sutherland is in it as well. So this movie is always a classic. And and some appearances from Kevin Bacon as well. This is one of Tom Hanks's funniest movies of all time. It's called Bachelor Party, and it came out in 1984. And when I first saw the movie, I just laughed hysterically. Like, it is so funny. It was awesome. Like, I love Tom Hanks. He's a great actor. It's about a bachelor. He's getting married, and all the Hillview Party has their full-time religion, and eventually his father tries to implode the wedding preparations and all that. And it says funny, likable. Tom Hanks is funny and engaging. So if 1984 was your year, Bachelor Party is one of the funniest I've ever seen. This is a comedy drama flick. I see it more as a comedy. This is Beaches, starring Bette Midler and Barbara Hershey. I remember I rented the movie back in 1990, and the movie came out in 1989. It was directed by Gary Marshall. It stars Bette Midler and Barbara Hershey, and it made you laugh, it made you cry, but the story was beautiful. It was based on this novel by Iris Rainer Dart, and I did read the book Beaches, and it was good. It was a lot different than the movie. So eventually, if you love Bette Midler, if you love Barbara Hershey, Bette Midler, she's a wonderful singer, and I just love, like, it's about true friendship. It says some friendships last forever, and it's true, some do last forever. So Beaches, directed by Gary Marshall, is a must-have. This is a double feature film that I got. This is Beethoven and Beethoven Second. I got this at I bought this at a Cheapies about a couple of years ago before it closed. And it's about, I remember seeing both movies a long time ago, and it's pretty funny, and families will love this movie, and it's just a riot. And so, yeah, like, and if you love dogs, and it's fun for the whole family, and if you love dogs, if you love St. Bernards, then you should get this family double feature of Beethoven and Beethoven Second. This is everybody's favorite film that everybody has to have in their DVD comedy collection. Beetlejuice. It came out in 1988, but I didn't see the movie till like about 10 years ago. But eventually I loved it. It was funny. It was good. Michael Keaton was so funny in that film, and he played Beetlejuice to a T. And it also this is the special 20th anniversary deluxe edition, and it also had Gina Davis, Alec Baldwin, Winona Ryder in it, Catherine O'Hara. It's hilarious, and it's a must-have. It's an uproariously irresistible, a dazzling display of director Tim Burton's unique pop culture sensibility. So everybody must have Beetlejuice in their DVD collection. Next up, a lot of people think it's a cult classic. I've seen it one time, and it is pretty funny. A lot of my friends love this film. It's called The Big Lebowski. It is directed by Joel Cohen, and it was written by Joel and his brother Ethan Cohen. I believe Joel or Ethan is married to actress Frances McDormand. So eventually this is This is the collector's edition. It has Jeff Bridges, Julianne Moore, John Goodman, John Turturro, and Steve Buscemi in it. It's a ride. It's a classic, and it's got an all new digitally remastered feature, special features, never before available images, making of the Big Lebowski, production notes, an exclusive introduction. Yeah. So it's a cult classic. If you love cult classics, then you gotta watch The Big Lebowski. Okay, I got this one is Bill and Ted's. It's a double feature. It was a classic movie, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I've seen it many, many times, and I loved it. And it was the best movie I've ever seen. Came out in '88, and also on it, it has Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, which is the sequel that came out in 1991. I've seen bits of the 1991 film and haven't seen it all yet, but I will watch that film one day. And there is also Bill and Ted Save the World, and I haven't seen it yet, but I may purchase the DVD, but before I do, I'm gonna watch it first, and then I'll figure it out if I could add the third Bill and Ted into my collection. So get a double dose of excellent. Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure with the great Keanu Reeves and Bogus Journey. This is the funniest movie by Mel Brooks that I ever seen in my life. It's called Blazing Saddles, and it came out in 1974, and it is the funniest movie I have ever seen in my life. You roll on the floor laughing because Mel Brooks is a genius. And it's the 30th anniversary special edition, and it's never give a saga an even break. And it's now blazing brighter than ever. It has Gene Wilder, Cleavon Little, Harvey Korman, Madeline Kahn. Yeah, and screenplay was written by Mel Brooks, Norman Steinberg, Andrew Bergman, Richard Pryor, Alan Uger. Yeah. And it has special features, an all-new 30th anniversary digital transfer, soundtrack remastered in Dolby Digital 5.1, scene-specific commentary by Mel Brooks, 2 blazing Bofo documentaries, Back in the Saddle, intimate portrait, Madeline Kahn expert. It also has a Black Bart 1975 pilot episode of the proposed TV series spin-off, which never aired. They also had additional scenes, a theatrical trailer. And it's got a lot of great scenes, and a lot of scenes that'll make you laugh so hard that you'll just you'll just fall out of your seat. So if you love Mel Brooks, this is a classic comedy, Blazing Saddles. You will love it. This, another John Hughes favorite. I love John Hughes, God rest his soul. I remember seeing this movie back in grade 8. My mom taped it one day. It's called The Breakfast Club, and it is a classic teenage movie. It's about 5 students sitting around all day in detention, trying to figuring out what they want to get to know each other and all that. So, but there was some mischief, and eventually it's got the Brat Pack in it. So this is the 30th anniversary edition of The Breakfast Club, and it's digitally remastered and fully restored from high resolution 35mm original film elements, and it's the best high school movie of all time. Yeah, it says, from writer-director John Hughes, The Breakfast Club is an iconic portrait of 1980s American high school life. When Saturday detention started, they were simply the jock, the princess, the brain, the criminal, and the basket case. But by that afternoon, they had become closer than any of them could have imagined. So, and it's got some bonus features too, and eventually, this is a movie you gotta have in your collection, The Breakfast Club. This is Bridget. I got Bridget Jones's Diary. It stars Renee Zellweger, Colin Firth, and Hugh Grant, and it's about this and Renee had to put on weight for the film role, and I saw the first one was a great movie. I loved it, and I thought she was really really good. And it says Bridget Jones's Diary, uncensored, uninhibited, unmarried. It gave it 2 thumbs up and terrific fun. And Renee Zellweger shines and Hugh Grant is irresistible. I agree. Okay, and it's about a busy career woman played by Zellweger approaching a certain age uncomfortably decides to turn over a new page in her life by channeling her thoughts, opinions, and insecurities into a journal that becomes a hilarious chronicle of her adventures. But eventually she meets 2 guys, and eventually, things go on the road, kept rolling. And there's also 2 other Bridget Jones's films. One's The Edge of Reason, which I thought it was okay, but it wasn't my favorite one. And the next one was Bridget Jones's Baby, and I haven't seen it yet. But Bridget Jones's Diary really tops the list. This movie, another Tom Hanks movie. There's a little fold here, so this is called The Burbs. It is so funny, it's hilarious, and it has Tom Hanks, Bruce Dern, Carrie Fisher, Corey Feldman. It is so hilarious, and it's in widescreen. It came out in 1989. He's a stranger in an even stranger land, suburbia. And he portrayed a suburbanite whose plans for a peaceful vacation are disturbed by a creepy new family on the block. To the disappointment of his wife, Carol, Ray decides to spend a relaxing week at home and soon gets into trouble with his neighbors. A hefty busybody, a freaked-out ex-soldier, and a spacey teenager as they observe the strange happenings next door at the Klopek's bizarre residence. And it's got a lot of slapstick and humor and all that. Oh, and if you love it, this is a cult classic, and it depends, this is a movie, either you love it or you hate it, or you like it. So, but this, I enjoyed it. It is just so, it is a riot. So, if you love Tom Hanks, you'll love The Burbs. This one, City Slickers. I saw that when I was in Huntsville back in 1991 when it came out. I was working at a camp for the summer, and usually every Tuesday we like to go to the movies because it was cheap that day. So one day we rented we watched City Slickers. Billy Crystal. Oh, it was funny. It's ambitious, funny. City Slickers delivers. And I love Billy Crystal, and it also has Daniel Stern in it, and it's about a New Yorker who's 39 and miserable. He's tired of his job and bored with his life, and his 2 best friends aren't doing much better. So when they all decide to chase their troubles away with a fantasy vacation, Mitch and his pals trade their briefcases for saddlebags and set out to find freedom and adventure herding cattle under the wide New Mexico sky and everything else. It also has Jack Palance. He won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. He really stole the show as Curly. Amazing. After his celebratory win, when he did the push-ups with one arm, God rest his soul. So I've seen the second one, City Slickers 2, and it wasn't that good. So, but they should have left this alone. So, if you love Billy Crystal, and if you love comedy a lot and westerns, you got to get City Slickers. This is a classic a movie that when I first saw it, I just fell in love with this movie, and it was an all-time classic cult hit. It's called Dazed and Confused, and it came out in 1998. or 1992, whatever. So came out either 1998 or 1992, but eventually it was like it was all back. It was about the last day of school in 1976, a time they'd never forget if only they could remember. A lot. It is so funny. It's awesome. It was bongs and bell bottoms, polyester and puka shells, macrame and mood rings. We rocked and rolled. We were jaded and innocent, but most of all, we were dazed and confused. It's about a group of high school students in late May 1976. A company, and it's got a great soundtrack. It's got Aerosmith, Alice Cooper, and a lot more. But eventually, like this is Matthew McConaughey's. It was his big debut, big on-screen debut, and he was awesome in it. Like, all right, all right, all right. And it's also written and directed by Richard Linklater. Oh, and it came out in 1993. So this is a movie. If you love classic rock, if you love nostalgia, 70s and 80s nostalgia, Dazed and Confused should be in your collection. This is I love Julia Roberts. This is one of her greatest films. It's called Eat, Pray, Love, and it's about I love the title. I've read the book. It is awesome. And eat, and it's the three things that are like me. Like, I love to eat. I'm a big foodie at heart. I pray, and I love. Yeah, and I love to travel. And it says it's about a woman who's believing there's more to life than a husband, house, and career, finds herself with a new appetite for life, and this is traveling to and embarks. She leaves New York and embarks on a year-long journey, traveling to Italy, India, and Bali, seeking true self-discovery through good food, meditation, and the prospect of finding true love. It says, Eat, Pray, Love provides a gorgeous escape. Julia Roberts is radiant. I agree. Let yourself go on an extended adventure with the director's cut. It's got two cuts. It has the theatrical cut and the director's cut. The director's cut was awesome. But eventually, if you love Julia Roberts, it's also directed by Ryan Murphy, who also did Glee, American Horror Story, and American crime films. So eventually, this is a movie that you'll love it. If you love to travel, if you love to eat, and if you're in search of love, Eat, Pray, Love is a movie to go. Excuse me. Sorry about that. This one is Edward Scissorhands. It came out in 1990, and it was another film by Tim Burton. It also hopefully the beginning of a beautiful relationship between Tim Burton and Johnny Depp, who played Edward Scissorhands. It also has Winona Ryder and Alan Arkin in it. And it's about a man. It was once upon a time in a castle high on a hill lived an inventor whose greatest creation was named Edward. Although Edward had an irresistible charm, he wasn't quite perfect. The inventor's sudden death left him unfinished, with sharp shears of metal for hands. Edward lived alone in the darkness until one day a kind Avon lady took him home to live with her family. So eventually, you gotta watch this movie, and it's a delightful and delicate comic fable. It's a great movie, and and if you love Tim Burton, if you love Johnny Depp, I've seen it when I saw it at the theaters. It was a wonderful story. I loved it. It also has bonus features too. TV spots, original theatrical trailer, and all that. Great movie. It's a must-see in your collection. Okay. I got the Vacation series from National Lampoon's. This is National Lampoon's Vacation and National Lampoon's European Vacation. Although I have European in the front, I should put the duo together. So eventually, this is the funniest movies of the world. Like the vacation movies, they were the greatest of all time. Chevy Chase, this is the one where they all went to Wally World in a ugly station wagon and things kept falling apart. Things kept going awry one day at a time, and it is just so funny. It was the best movie. The first one, this is the 20th anniversary special edition of National Lampoon's Vacation. And this one is European Vacation, and it takes place when they want a trip to Europe. And eventually, if you thought of them going to Wally World was a disaster, this is another vacation that will tend to be a disaster. So, and there's also Christmas Vacation, which I watch at Christmas all the time. I put it with my Christmas stuff. Christmas stuff was the greatest Christmas movie of all time. And there was Vegas Vacation, which I did not like at all. So these two are the classic and the Christmas Vacation. They're a must-have in your collection. This is Fast Times at Richmond High. When I saw this movie a long time ago, I was like 12 when I first saw it, and I loved the movie. I loved the soundtrack. It was written by Cameron Crowe based on his book, and it was directed by Amy Heckerling, and it came out in 1982, and it is awesome, totally awesome. Like Jeff Spicoli, Sean Penn really stole the show. A lot of punchline, a lot of quotes and phrases. Like Mr. Hand, Ray Walston, who played Mr. Hand, he did a phenomenal job. Kept saying, "What are you people on dope?" I just laughed so hard at these scenes. Phoebe Cates, Jennifer Jason Leigh. These were all newcomers that are moving up their careers. It's beginning of debuts, and it was Nicolas Cage's debut, Eric Stoltz's debut, and it is an all-star cast with Sean Penn playing Jeff Spicoli, and it's a totally awesome special edition. Hey bud, let's party. And it's got music from the Cars, it got music from Oingo Boingo, Jackson Brown. It is an awesome movie. Best 80s movies. If you love Sean Penn, you're gonna love Fast Times at Richmond High. These two, these are the best collections that I've had. Father of the Bride, the first one. It's a remake of the movie with Spencer back in 1950 with Spencer Tracy and Elizabeth Taylor. And this one stars Steve Martin. It's funny, it's irresistible, and it's the 15th anniversary special edition. It's a comedy about letting go. Yeah, it's about a befuddled father who has a hard time letting go of his young daughter when she unexpectedly announces her plans to wed. The ideas and don'ts of her big day prove no small feat for George as he runs into an off-the-wall wedding planner, his patient, level-headed wife, and hysterical hitches. So if you love weddings and if you've seen the original Father of the Bride, this is a really good one. Like, but the original was different. Like, it was an updated version, and it's got a lot of hijinks. And Steve Martin was so funny in it. And this is the sequel, Father of the Bride Part 2. And it's about, it's just when his world is back to normal, he's in the surprise of his life. It's absolutely hilarious. Steve Martin at his comic best. And it's about having just married off his cherished daughter. George Banks is ready to get footloose and fancy-free, so when his daughter and his wife, Nina, both announce they are pregnant, George finds himself in one outrageous situation after another, desperately trying to recapture the wild and crazy days of his youth. So anyway, it is funny. I saw that at the theater with one of my best friends. It is funny. It's hilarious. I love Martin Short. Really stole the show in both of these films, so If you love Father of the Bride and Father of the Bride Part 2, these are good to have in your collection. Another John Hughes classic, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I got this for Christmas back in 2011 for my girlfriend Michelle. Yeah, and it was a classic. I never saw it in the theaters. I've seen it a few times before. And eventually, this other's Matthew Broderick. I think it's his biggest role in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Like, it's got a lot of funny scenes. I love the 80s, and I grew up in the 80s, and I love 80s films, which were pretty cheesy, but they were very, and I'm a huge fan of cult classics and nostalgia. Yeah, and it's about Matthew Broderick plays Ferris Bueller, who decided to pretend he's to play hooky from school for one day, and he takes along his girlfriend and his best friend for the joyride of their lives. So eventually, this is a classic, and you must have Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Okay. The First Wives Club. This is a funny movie. It's a classic, and it's a comedy dream team. It's irresistible fun, and it stars Diane Keaton, Goldie Hawn, and Bette Midler. All three women were so funny. It's about three women whose husbands left them, and they went through midlife crisis, and they left them for younger trophy women. So they decided they don't want to sit around nothing, and they decided to get their justice. So eventually, yeah, okay. So after years of helping their hubbies climb the ladder of success, each has been dumped for a newer, curvier model. But the trio is determined to turn their pain into gain. So, and they come up with a cleverly devious plan to hit their exes where it really hurts, in the wallet. So eventually, if you're like, this is about a divorce, and eventually it is hilarious. It's about three first wives scorn. So eventually, I don't blame them if they want to dump their wives because they have like gray hair or crow's feet or first stage of crow's feet. Then they'll move on to another woman so they could act younger than a 50-year-old. So eventually, First Wives Club. Don't get mad, get everything. Word from Ivanka Trump. So First Wives Club is a classic. This is a funny movie. I saw the theater. It's called The 40-Year-Old Virgin, and it's directed by Judd Apatow. And includes 17 never before seen minutes. And this is the unrated, now lasts 17 minutes longer version. And it's about a man who's gone 40 years without doing it. Now his pals are making it their mission to help him score fast. Can he survive their hilarious bad advice? Will he land in the arms of a way too experienced or the way too drunk? Or can he find true love where he at least expects, from a gorgeous grandmother? But eventually, I will not tell you anything more about this. If you love Steve Carell, if you love Judd Apatow films, you got to see The 40-Year-Old Virgin. It is hilarious. Another classic that I have, it's called The Full Monty. Came out in 1997, and it was an independent film, and which became a cult hit. And it's about a bunch of laid off workers who decided to perform like a Chippendale show, to make money. And so it's irresistible, hilarious. 6 unemployed men inspired by a touring group of male strippers decide they can make a small fortune by putting on a striptease show of their own. But with one small difference, they intend to go the full Monty and strip completely. But the movie was funny. It is awesome. It's got the music of Donna Summer, Gary Glitter, Tom Jones, a lot. But The movie, it stars Robert Carlyle, Tom Wilkinson, and it's got a good cast, and eventually it is funny. It is so funny. I just laugh so hard at the scenes, and it was set in England. And I've always wanted to go to England, because one of my friends is from England. So if you haven't got the full Monty in your collection, you should go get it. This is a beautiful comedy, drama, romance, love story, which you can call. It's called Ghost. It's directed by Jerry Zucker, who did Airplane. It stars Patrick Swayze, Demi Moore, Patrick Swayze, God rest his soul, and Whoopi Goldberg, who won an Oscar for her role, who was so funny in the film. Yeah, and it won Best Original Screenplay. It came out in 1990, and it's think of the most touching love story you ever saw. Think too of the brightest comedy and most astonishing supernatural tale in a sleek mystery thriller. Did you come up with 4 separate films, or are you among the millions of fans and critics who've discovered Ghost? It will surprise you, delight you, make you believe. Patrick Swayze plays a ghost who teams with a psychic to uncover the truth behind his tragedy and to rescue his sweetheart from a familiar fate. And it's a ditto. I love the film. It was beautiful. It was sad. I cried in the ending. But if you haven't seen it, you must see it. And you should have this in your collection. Ghost. Great job. This is another film that was written by John Hughes, he didn't direct it. But it was such a funny movie. It's called The Great Outdoors. It has John Candy and Dan Aykroyd, and it's like this is English, but they gave me the French cover on it. It says, all vacation-bound family man Chet Ripley wants to relax and spend some quality time with his family. But when his obnoxious brother-in-law Roman shows up and announces and invited with his kooky family in tow, the result is anything but restful. So John Candy and Dan Aykroyd, they were so funny in the film, and I just laughed. There were a lot of great scenes. They were funny, and so eventually, if you love Candy and Aykroyd, John Candy, God rest his soul, these two had great chemistry, and it is just hilarious. So eventually, you gotta have The Great Outdoors in your video collection. This is one of Adam Sandler's greatest film. Another one of Adam's greatest films. It was directed by Dennis Dugan. Yeah, he directed a lot of Adam Sandler movies. This one is called, it's a special edition. It's called Happy Gilmore. And he doesn't play golf, he destroys it. Yeah, so, and it stars in this, scores a hole in a, yes, so eventually he let out his anger in golf, and then eventually it had the biggest fight with Bob Barker scene. I just laughed so hard at this. It's hilarious. It's funny, and so eventually the price is wrong, bitch. I just and you hear Bob Barker curse for the very first time in the film, and it's just a riot. So if you love Adam Sandler and you love golf movies, you're gonna love Happy Gilmore. This is for every Rush fan. The band Rush, movie to have. It's got their music, and it's called I Love You Man. It has Paul Rudd and Jason Segel in it, and it's smart, inventive, and very funny. It's got special features. It has is Paul Rudd plays a character who gets engaged to the girl of his dreams but doesn't have a single guy friend to be his best man until he meets the ultimate dude, Jason Segel. Takes male bonding to hilarious new heights in a story that comically explores what it truly means to be a friend. And it's got the music. And it's got the music of Rush. Like, he was a huge Rush fan. And they did a lot of they did appearances at their concerts, and they are hilarious together. And if you love Rush, if you love comedies and all that, then you have to get I Love You Man. So, and it came out in 2009. This is another funny one. Back in '97, a friend of mine, we went to a double feature. The last movie we saw was Conspiracy Theory, which I thought it wasn't that really good. But the first movie we saw was a film called In and Out with Kevin Kline. It was a riot, and it was directed by Frank Oz, and it is so funny. It's about a comedy knockout hilarious. It's about Welcome to Greenleaf, a picture postcard Indiana town where the high school is the proud focus of attention and alternative lifestyle. Means you bowl on alternate Tuesdays, but on the night of the Oscars telecast, the town's and the world's center of attention is Greenleaf teacher Howard Brackett. A former student who's now a superstar actor tells an audience of millions that Howard is not saying. You know, he's out in and he did not know he was in. Like, it also had, it's got Matt Dillon, Debbie Reynolds, God rest her soul, Bob Newhart, and Tom Selleck. Oh, there's one scene between Richard Klein and Tom Selleck, and it is just a riot. I am not going to say anything. If you haven't seen this film, then you will love this film, In and Out. This is another great comedy that I loved. Saw back in the summer of 2008. This came out in 2006. This came out in 2005. It's a film. It's called In Her Shoes. It stars Cameron Diaz, Toni Collette, and Shirley MacLaine. It's about two sisters who only have one thing in common. That's their shoe size. And it's directed by Curtis Hanson, and who did 8 Mile, Wonder Boys, LA Confidential. And it's from a screenplay by Susanna Grant. It's a rewarding family comedy since Terms of Endearment. It's a pure joy with wit and intelligence to spare, a movie to cherish. It's about a flirty, flaky party girl and plain dependable lawyer are sisters, best friends, and bitter rivals who seem to have nothing in common but size and 8.5 feet and some family secrets. After a heart-rending falling out, they accidentally discover they also share a long-lost grandmother. Together, they travel a bumpy road toward making peace with each other and themselves. So eventually, this is a wonderful film. I loved it. It was wonderful, and I love the film. And if you like romantic comedies, this is a great movie. It's about a maturing, growing up and loving shoes and getting to know yourself. Okay, so In Your Shoes, it is a beautiful movie. This is Julie and Julia, directed by the late great Nora Ephron, God rest her soul. And it's about the life of Julia Child. Meryl Streep played the role, and she did a great job. It's based on different stories. It's Meryl Streep is at her brilliant beguiling best, and A Scrumptious Feast, the feel-good movie of the year. And it's funny. It is good. It is funny. It is good. It's about, and there's things I love. It's cooking. And Amy Adams portrays Julie Powell, who decides to whip up 524 recipes in a year and introduce the magic of French cooking. And she wanted a recipe she was a frustrated office worker with a new recipe for life, and so she decided to write up a blog blog and decided to make do a blog of cooking through the whole book of Julia Child's The Art of French Cooking. Magic of French Cooking. And so eventually it is funny. It's a good movie. My mom saw it that year and she recommended it to me and she says, you got to see this film. So eventually, if you haven't seen it, you love Julia Child, if you love to cook, you love food, this is a movie to get. This is a movie with it's called Kate and Leopold, and it's seriously romantic and darn funny. It has Meg Ryan and Hugh Jackman. It has 2 thumbs up and smart and sexy. If they lived in the same century, they'd be perfect for each other. And it's about they're paired as star-crossed lovers who discover that passion and chivalry never go out of style. When a rip in time brings together a charming 19th century bachelor and a thoroughly 21st century woman, the potential for an old-fashioned modern romance ignites. Eventually, it's got special features. It's 2 versions of the film, the theatrical version and the director's cut. It has deleted scenes and has the Sting song Until. But eventually, it's about 2 people who love each other, who are from 2 different worlds. And eventually, do we know if they stay together? Do they know if they have to part? But eventually, this is a story. This is a fantasy comedy that you have to watch. If you love fantasy, if you love romantic comedies, then you'll love Kate and Leopold. This is a funny movie. It's called The Kids Are All Right, and it was hilarious, heartfelt, and irresistible, and a generous, nearly note-perfect portrait of a modern family. And it's about it's funny, smart, and sexy too. It's called and it's about 2 women. Women are a suburban couple who raising their 2 teens. But when the kids secretly track down their donor dad, an unexpected new chapter begins for everyone as family ties are defined and redefined. It's a fall in love with a big-hearted comedy that critics are calling one of the best films of the year. Eventually, it is such a good movie. This has the journey to forming a family, and it won some Golden Globe awards. And this movie, I love this movie, and Annette Bening and Julianne Moore were really good in this film, and so if you love Julianne Moore, if you love Mark Ruffalo, then you should get this film. Next, A League of Their Own was directed by the great Penny Marshall, God rest her soul. It has Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, and Madonna. It stars it's about an all-girls baseball team when the males go out to war. It is just it's got an all-star cast. It is funny. It is Tom Hanks. It was so hilarious, and it's a real classic. It came out in 92, and it was just so funny, and I just loved it. Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, and Madonna. This is one of Madonna's great roles as A League of Their Own. And the other movies that I like with her is Desperately Seeking Susan and Evita. Those and all the other movies she was in, she was just terrible in them. So eventually, she's a great singer, and she's just a mediocre actress. So eventually, if you love baseball, if you love Tom Hanks, Gina Davis, and Madonna together, then you should have A League of Their Own. It is a classic. This one, another film that I got, it's called Legally Blonde. It stars Reese Witherspoon, and it's boldly going where no blonde has gone. It's a 2 thumbs up, and it's a feel-good girl power comedy. And so it's about a California sorority girl who will do anything to keep her man. even if it means going all the way to law school. In a knockout comedy with a heart of gold and hair to match. Elle Woods is a California blonde with couture clothes, fabulous friends, and the hottest boyfriend on campus. So when her boyfriend suddenly dumps her and heads for Harvard Law School, Elle takes matters into her own perfectly manicured hands. She enrolls too. Now getting Warner back should be a snap. Right? Wrong. Elle is about to begin the toughest fight of her life for love, honor, justice, and respect for blondes everywhere. It's about this woman, she'll do anything to get her boyfriend back, but eventually in the film she gets to know about herself, so get her to know herself better. So eventually, the second Legally Blonde I did not like at all. So eventually, this is good. The first one was always the best. Okay, this is another collection for my movie. This is another trilogy. It's Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers. They're all in 2 films. It's with Ben Stiller, and it was directed by Jay Roach. And both directed by Jay Roach. And it's about Ben Stiller plays this guy who just got engaged to his girlfriend, and he had to go meet the parents, and then meet the Fockers. They meet the groom's parents, and it is just like Robert De Niro and Ben Stiller. They were funny. Like, he was a concerned father with a lie detector test, and his parents, played by Dustin Hoffman and Barbara Streisand, they were just like free people. They're like free hippie people, and so it was pretty funny, and it's one of the best films ever. And so, Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers, and now there's a Little Fockers, and it's about, they have kids now, and they have so eventually they have kids, and it's about he's finally beginning to learn the respect of his ex-CIA father-in-law, but one important test still lies ahead. Will Greg prove that he has what it takes to be the family's next godfucker? Or will the circle of trust be broken for good? Oh, yeah. It's got bonus features, a gag reel, alternate opening and ending, deleted scenes, making of a godfucker. So eventually, if you love Meet the Parents and Meet the Fockers, then you'll love Little Fockers as well as a final part. It's a funny films, and if you love them, like Ben Stiller and Robert De Niro, this is a trilogy you should get. This is a movie I saw back in 2010 that came out. It's called Love and Other Drugs. It has Jake Gyllenhaal and Anne Hathaway. They also work together in Brokeback Mountain. And I got this off Blockbuster. I usually go to Blockbuster to get the good deals on movies and all that when it was open. She plays a free-spirited woman who meets her match in a charming Viagra salesman. They leap into a no-strings-attached affair, but no matter how hard they try to keep things casual, they can't help falling under the influence of the ultimate drug, love. So eventually, so this is a good movie. These two have great chemistry, and it was directed by Edward Zwick, who did Legends of the Fall. So if you love romantic comedies, then this is a movie you should get. Love and Other Drugs. Here's another classic cult film that I loved. It came out in 1996. It's called Mars Attacks. It's directed by another film by Tim Burton, whom I love so much. And it has an all-star cast. It has Jack Nicholson, Glenn Close, Annette Bening, Pierce Brosnan, Danny DeVito. It's got Martin Short, Tom Jones, Michael J. Fox, Natalie Portman. And it is just the year's coolest movie by a far great achievement. Yeah, and it's about like it's really funny. It's later than you think. Don't okay. There were about these there was about a president, Jack Nicholson, in a dual role. Yeah, it's about he plays the as the U.S. legislature is overwhelmed. Don't fear, we still have 2 out of 3 branches of the government working for us, and that ain't bad. As Earth fights back with an unexpected weapon, take that, Martians. But so eventually, when Mars, it's about, it is so funny. You really got to pay attention to it. And Tim Burton is one of those directors who's a brilliant genius. So if you love Tim Burton, then you're gonna love Mars Attacks. And it's just funny. Here's a cult movie that came out in Walt Disney back in 1980. The film is called Midnight Madness. I've seen this movie a long time ago. I never saw it in theaters, but when I saw it on TV, like on pay TV, like years and years ago, I saw some clips on YouTube, so and I said I gotta find this movie. It was difficult to find, but I got it off Amazon, and so far it's about a sprawling city of Los Angeles. It's about a game. Los Angeles is the game board as 5 outrageous teams of college students attempt to win the Great All-Nighter, a dusk to dawn competition dreamed up by an eccentric graduate student. It says bizarre grab bag group of fellow students, and it also has Michael J. Fox in his first movie appearance before he did Family Ties and Back to the Future. So eventually, it's more like it's like a scavenger hunt, but eventually it's hilarious. So they had to like look for clues in order to complete the all-nighter, and so eventually, and it has David Naughton and Maggie Stephen First, and so it's a great comedy. It's funny, it's silly, but eventually, this is a movie. Like if you love Walt Disney films, and if you love comedies and goof offs, so eventually, Midnight Madness is a good one. This another film by Sandra Bullock, who's a good actress in some films. This is Miss Congeniality. Came out in 2000. It's one of her greatest roles. It's a deluxe edition with Sandra Bullock and Michael Caine. And it's wildly entertaining, and Sandra Bullock is relentlessly funny and infinitely charming. Oh, not too good. And she plays Gracie Hart, like who's like a tomboy and something, that who goes undercover as a beauty pageant contestant to see who will like someone was stalking Miss United States. So eventually the movie, like, it's funny. It's but they also had a sequel to Miss Congeniality. It's called Miss Congeniality 2, Armed and Fabulous, but I did not like that at all. But the first Miss Congeniality, that is a good movie. It's funny and it's very cute in a lot of ways. So good cast, like William Shatner's in it, Benjamin Bratt, Candice Bergen. Eventually, you'll love this film. You'll love these films. You'll love this film. This is another one from the late great Robin Williams. I love him. He was such a great actor. Mork and Mindy, Good Will Hunting was awesome. This is his funniest film, Mrs. Doubtfire. It is hilarious. It's a wonderful story, and I just love it. And she will rock. It's the behind the scenes edition, and he was hysterical, sheer genius. The film is fall down funny. Like, it has Sally Field, Pierce Brosnan, and has special features including cutting deleted, extended, and alternate scenes, and an animation studio, makeup department, and so eventually Dan is about a man father who couldn't keep a job, and his wife divorced him. So his wife asked him for a divorce. He moved out, and then he wanted to see his kids, but eventually in a custody. He can only visit his kids in a custody agreement. So eventually he decides to dress up like a woman, and so he could see his children more often because he just loves his kids. So this is a movie with the great late great Robin Williams, directed by Chris Columbus, called Mrs. Doubtfire. Here's a Julia Roberts film that I loved. It was very beautiful. It was a lovely film, and she made a comeback. It came out in 1997. It's called My Best Friend's Wedding. I saw it twice. My friend and I, when we went the first time, right in the middle of the movie, the film just broke. The film broke, and eventually they tried to fix it, and they say, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. We'll give you a free pass that you'll come back next week and see it. So that's what we did, and I really enjoyed My Best Friend's Wedding. And it's about a food critic who fell in love with her best friend, the day he decided to marry another woman. It says, delightful and surprising, Julia Roberts is back in glorious form. You're invited to enjoy an event filled with touching romance and hysterical plot-hatching antics. Black tie optional. It's got a lot of special features. It's got weddings, the making of My Best Friend's Wedding, wedding do's and don'ts, HBO making of special on the set, Say a Little Prayer sing-along, and My Best Friend's Wedding album, DVD-ROM, Who's the One for Me, quiz and wedding slideshow, theatrical trailers, filmographies, animated menus, and so much more. So if you love Julia Roberts, this was her comeback film. And it was directed by P.J. Hogan. I think she did Mariel's Wedding as well. So eventually, My Best Friend's Wedding is the funniest film, romantic comedy. So this is a movie that you'll love. Okay, another trilogy. The Naked Gun trilogy with the late great Leslie Nielsen, God rest her soul. The Naked Gun from the Files of Police Squad, the funniest movie I've ever seen. Yeah, and then Naked Gun 2.5. 2.5. Frank Drebin is back, just accept it. Impossible not to laugh. And the third one, The Final Insult. It is just that to wrap up the film. So eventually, it's got a lot of humor. It's got a lot of... the first two were directed by David Zucker, and the third was directed by Peter Segal. So eventually, these three Naked Gun films are a classic. And if you want to laugh so loud, if you're looking for a great laugh, there's a lot of funny scenes. And the Naked Gun trilogy is awesome to have in your DVD collection. I got another Julia Roberts film. This is with Hugh Grant. It's called Notting Hill. It's hilarious. It's a best romantic comedy in years. It came out in '99, and it's about an actress, her who had a great career, and she meets a travel bookstore owner. He has the room from hell, and his love life is completely non-existent. Then one day their paths cross, and the couple comes to face the ultimate question: can two people fall in love with the whole world watching? This is a romantic comedy, and it's directed by Roger Michel. I think he directed the film Four Weddings and a Funeral. I don't know. So eventually, it's got deleted scenes as well. So if you love Julia Roberts, you're going to love Notting Hill. It's also set in England. This movie, it's a remake of a film, and this one came out in '98, and it's called The Parent Trap. It's with Lindsay Lohan. This is her first acting debut role film. It also has Dennis Quaid and Natasha Richardson, God rest her soul. And it's funny. It is cute. It's got everything that you have in the original movie, but this one is just upbeat, funnier, and it's just it's updating a classic. It's got special features, deleted scene. It's meeting the Queen. How Hallie became Annie, accent on fun, and eventually it's about a set of twins who met at a camp, and they never even knew each other. They were twins separated at birth. So eventually, this movie is a 2 thumbs up. It's awesome. It's cute. It's funny. It's a Walt Disney film, and I like Disney films, but eventually The Parent Trap is a great one to have in your collection. Next up is a film from Steve Martin and John Candy. It's called Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It is such the funniest movie ever. It's set in Thanksgiving. John Candy, God rest his soul. It is so funny. I just laugh so hard. It's about an advertising executive who just wants to fly home to Chicago to spend Thanksgiving with his family. But all he gets is misery. Misery from a loudmouth but nevertheless lovable salesman who leads Neil on a cross-country wild goose chase that keeps Neil from tasting his turkey. They are absolutely wonderful 2 guys with a knack for making the worst of a bad situation. If it's painful, funny, or just plain crazy, it happens in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Every traveler's nightmare and a comedy come true. It's directed by John Hughes as well, and it was he also wrote and produced it. It is just so funny. You gotta see this. Everybody must have this film in their collection. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's just all out laughter. I just roared out. So this is one of the greatest movies of the great John Candy and Steve Martin. Okay, another trilogy. That's it. One of the funniest films ever been on in the movie's history. Police Academy. This is Police Academy 1, the first Police Academy, which is the funniest movie. I saw this back in '85 at my mom's. My brother and I watched it, and it was just pretty. It was so hilarious. I just roared out laughing so hard. It's just a lot of funny scenes, it's the introduction. And then there's Police Academy 2, their first assignment, which has got a lot of funny scenes and eventually so much hilarity. There's some scenes that are so funny, practical pranks and everywhere. I loved it when Steve Guttenberg played Mahoney. Every time he's against a prank, and then he says, "That's not very nice." And he looks in the camera with this look. I knew he's up to something. He's up to something. This is Police Academy 3, Back in Training. This is a funny one, and it's got so it added Bobcat Goldthwait and eventually it's got almost the whole original cast. So eventually, Tackleberry. We most of them have passed on now. So eventually, Police Academy 3 is the funniest movie I've ever seen. Police Academy 4, Citizens on Patrol. Eventually, this is Steve Guttenberg's last Police Academy film, which was a good swan song. It is funny. It's got Sharon Stone in it. It's got Sharon Stone. It's got David Spade in his young years in the movie, and this movie is really funny and a lot of funny scenes, and it's just a riot. So then the first one without Steve Guttenberg One is Assignment Miami Beach Police Academy 5. Yes, this is where they go to Miami Beach, and eventually it's got some new cast members in it, and I thought it was pretty funny. They all, yeah, like the one with the sunblock scene. I just laughed so hard at this scene. Hello, dork. It's just a outrageous laughter in the film. And this one is City Under Siege. This is the last good one of Police Academy. I saw this one in the theaters. The only Police Academy movie I only saw in the theater. Yeah, and it's about, and eventually, this is the last good one they did, and they also did a film called Police Academy Mission to Moscow. It was terrible. Like, so eventually, I'm never, like I said to myself, I'm never going to watch that again. So this movie, it didn't really have all the cast in the film, but eventually, so 1 to 6 were the ones you should keep. At Moscow, skip it. This is another John Hughes film. It's called Pretty in Pink. And, it was directed by Howard Dutch, and it's written by John Hughes. It's another comedy. It's about with Molly Ringwald, and she was so pretty in the film. It's about a high school girl from the wrong side of town. He's the wealthy heartthrob who asks her to the prom, but as fast as their romance builds, it's threatened by the painful reality of peer pressure. Excuse me. Yeah, don't mind me, my throat's getting dry. So eventually, it's got a lot of special features, and this movie is a must-see. I've seen it once, and I thought it was really, really good. Well acted. 1986 it came out, and I just love John Hughes's movies. They have a great soundtrack to it. OMD If You Leave, I love that song. Psychedelic Furs, Pretty in Pink. I got those on my Spotify, so I just love movies that have soundtracks to the film. That's great soundtracks. Another Julia Roberts great movie, Richard Gere pairing, which was so awesome to see. This is Pretty Woman, and this is the 15th anniversary special edition. It's got Richard Gere and Julia Roberts, their very first pairing together. I was wanting to see that in the theaters for a long time, but eventually I didn't get to have the chance. And it's got a lot of special features, including the blooper reel, the rap party, Wild Women Do video, and it also got some added scenes in the film. So she played a streetwise diamond in the rough when she meets a no-nonsense billionaire. And it's a chance encounter that turns a week-long business arrangements into a timeless rags to riches romance. And I just love this film. Julia Roberts, that's when I fell in love with Julia Roberts. She was wonderful in the film. And so you gotta see Pretty Woman. You gotta have it in your collection. It's one of the greatest films ever. Funny and lovely. This is another Disney flick, directed by Gary Marshall, God rest his soul. It's with Julie Andrews and Anne Hathaway. This is Anne Hathaway's debut starring role. It's the 2-disc collector's set. It's called The Princess Diaries. It's a hip, funny, and moving modern-day fairy tale of the fairy tale. And, it's about a teenager just thriving each school day as an adventure. Then the shocking news arrives that she's a real princess. So begins a comical transformation towards poise and princessness, including a media storm, jealous schoolmates, and a plot to take over her country. So eventually it's got a lot of good characters in it, and it's got outtakes, bloopers. And they had a sneak peek of the Princess Diaries too. But eventually I did see it, and I thought it was okay, but the first Princess Diaries was the greatest. I just loved it. Here's another funny one. This is Rat Race. It's directed by Jerry Zucker, who did Airplane and Ghost. And it is like the funniest movie I have ever seen. It's nonstop funny. It has conviction and divinely orchestrated lunacy, and quite possibly the funniest movie ever. It's got an all-star cast: Rowan Atkinson, Whoopi Goldberg, John Lovitz. A lot of funny. Like it's a brings laughs from start to finish when a casino tycoon gives 6 money-crazed contestants the chance to win $2 million in a race from Las Vegas to New Mexico. Who will win this dash for the cash is anybody's guess, but one thing is for sure, it's going to be a hilarious ride. So eventually, if you love like scavenger hunt type movies, like game movies, like it's a spoof off the film It's a Mad, 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 Mad World that I saw a long time ago, and it was a long movie. And so eventually, if you love hilarious slapstick comedy, you're gonna love. You have to have Rat Race in your collection. Oh, and another trilogy. Here we go. But great 80s films of all time. Revenge of the Nerds. Loved it. I saw it back in 1986. My mom rented it one night for my birthday when we visited her. And it's like the beginning, like this is the panty raid edition, and I got the whole pack. And so that it's the frat boy comedy that started it all. And I'm a nerd. It's got a lot of special features, and also has the Revenge of the Nerds television pilot, which was never aired. And it also has Nerds in Paradise that I saw at the theater with my aunt and my uncle. And on one Tuesday, and I just loved this film. Like, it was funny. A lot of nerds going crazy, going at it again, and so eventually trying to get accepted and all that. And the other two were like TV movies that came on TV on Fox a couple of times. And this one is called The Next Generation, and it came out in 1992 right on DVD. And it's got a new cast and new nerds, and eventually it's a hilarious sight gag, satisfying wrap up for the nerds' progress. So this is one, and this film came out in 1994 on Fox. It's called The Fourth and Final Installment of the Nerd Saga comes to DVD for the first time. It's called Nerds in Love. And this is the one when one of the nerds gets married, and everything goes haywire. Like, when at a nerd wedding, when people are trying to implode your plans and all that. So eventually, the whole Revenge of the Nerds nerd saga is right in my video collection. It's just, those were the 80s. Those were the greatest. Here's another film that is the unrated version you didn't see in theaters. This is Road Trip, and it has Tom Green. It's got Sean William Scott, and it's about a video got sent out of a guy who's getting freaky with another woman is accidentally mailed to his girlfriend. He has 3 days to get the Texas before the tape does. Yes, so eventually it's hilarious. It's got a hot soundtrack: Kid Rock, Run DMC, Buck Cherry. Lot of great. It's a great soundtrack. It's funny, and eventually it's just raunchy, dirty, and it's just freaking hilarious. So if you love raunchy comedies, this is a good one to have. And Todd Phillips, he also did Old School, the film, which wasn't too bad. This is another good one with a great 80s classic hit. 80s classic. It's called Romeo and Michelle's High School Reunion. And it is set in 1995, and it was set in the 80s, but a couple of high school misfits. It's hilarious. two thumbs up and very funny and original. It's they're carefree party about two girl students. They're carefree party girls who reinvent themselves for their 10-year high school reunion. With new wardrobes and wild stories of success, they make a big impression until a former classmate blabs the real story to everyone. But that's when they let loose with a surprise of their own and outrageous results. So it's got a lot of 80s music in it, and it is such a great film. It's a great movie. It's a feel-good movie. And if you love the 80s, if you loved high school, then this is the movie you should get. Oh, here's another Richard Gere, Julia Roberts film. It's called Runaway Bride, and I thought it was pretty good. And it had Christopher Maloney in it, Hector Elizondo, Rita Wilson, and it's Get Ready to Fall in Love with Roberts and Gere all over again. Catch her if you can. Big laugh, great stars. And it says Roberts and Gere confirmed their status as an eternal screen team in this delightful flat-filled. She plays a small-time girl who marches down the aisle, become a series of near misses when she bolts before saying "I do." Then he is a cynical big city newspaper columnist eager to write a tell-all story about her, but the more Ike finds out about her, the more he finds himself falling in love with her. So eventually, if you loved Pretty Woman, then you're going to love Runaway Bride. So and I thought it's pretty funny about commitment, about being afraid of commitment and getting to know yourself and all that. So eventually, Runaway Bride is a good one to have in your collection. This is another hard movie to find. I got this on Amazon. I've seen it years ago at a birthday party back in 1985, and it has an all-star cast, and it is a riot all the way around. It's called Scavenger Hunt, and it came out in 1979. It had an all-star cast: Richard Benjamin, Scatman Crothers, Ruth Gordon, Cloris Leachman, Roddy McDowell, Cleavon Little, Tony Randall. And a lot of great actors who moved on to and it also has Meatloaf in it. It has an all-star cast. Yep, and it's just all around funny, and it's a mad mob of maniacs in a wild and hilarious $2 million winner takes all scavenger hunt. It's about a departed millionaire's will was specific. His 15 would-be heirs are to participate in a highly unusual scavenger hunt, and whoever finds all the items first wins his entire estate. But eventually, and although I don't think it did well in the theaters, but eventually I found this on Instagram, I was very, very happy. And I thought, I used to rent this movie all the time, but eventually it finally got on DVD, and I just love it. So this is, if you love this, you'll love Scavenger Hunt, and you have to get this in your collection. And this is another John Hughes film that he did. God rest his soul. This came out in 1988. And it's called She's Having a Baby. It's with Kevin Bacon and Elizabeth McGovern. And it's about two kids who are married and they live the perfect life. And then she announced she was having a baby. And it's a pretty romantic comedy. And it's like sad, had sad moments. It's got good moments, but eventually this film is a must-have from John Hughes. So check it out. This is a Tom Hanks Meg Ryan movie, which I love them together. They first starred in Joe versus the Volcano, which was like a bomb, but it was okay. But this one saved the day. It's called Sleepless in Seattle, and it's directed by Nora Ephron, God rest her soul. And it's about like it's got special feature. It's the 10th anniversary edition, and it's the romantic film that started it all. And it's about a widowed father whose son becomes a reluctant guest on a radio call-in show, and he's an instant hit with thousands of female listeners who deluge his Seattle home with letters of comfort. Meanwhile, inspired by, and by a classic Hollywood romance, Annie Ryder becomes convinced that it's her destiny to meet Sam. There are just two problems. Annie's she's engaged to someone else, and he doesn't know yet that they're made for each other. So eventually, this is like in the movie, An Affair to Remember, like with Cary Grant and Deborah Carr. Like this is what the movie came from. Like, and it's easily the hippest, frankest, and funniest date movie around. Yeah, I remember seeing that at the theaters. I just love this movie, and Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan, they have beautiful chemistry in this film, and they make a great on-screen duo. And then a cult classic that is great to have in your collection is I've seen it's directed by another by Mel Brooks, and it's pretty funny. And it's a spoof from Star Wars, and it's called Spaceballs, and it came out in 1987. It has Mel Brooks, John Candy, Bill Pullman, Dick Van Patten, and Joan Rivers in the film. It was, and it's about, like, it's May the Farce Be With You. Like, this is a spoof of Star Wars, and it is just hilarious. And they confront, like, Pizza the Hut, Dot Matrix, Yogurt, Vespa, Barf, Dark Helmet. Eventually, this is all funny stuff, and like, if you haven't seen it yet, then you gotta see Spaceballs. It is hilarious if you love Mel Brooks and Star Wars. So eventually, this is a good one to see. Another film that is great with Tom Hanks. It came out in 1984. He co-stars with Daryl Hannah, and it's called Splash. And it's about a regular man who falls in love with a mermaid. And it's the 20th anniversary edition of the film, and it's got bonus features and all that. And it's about a workaholic who convinced he can't fall in love. That is, until he's mysteriously rescued at sea by the mermaid of his dreams. Soon they're swept away by hilarious and heartwarming romance. Like, this is director Ron Howard's. It was directed by Ron Howard. It also has John Candy in it. Like, I just love movies with John Candy in it. He always steals the show from everything. And that's and I think Ron Howard directed his first movie. It was called Night Shift, and I haven't seen it yet. So eventually, but Splash is one you have to get in your collection. Like, it's probably one of those love stories about a couple from two different worlds who cannot stay apart, who's no one can tear apart. This is another Leslie Nielsen film that I just enjoyed. I saw it at the theater, and it's called Spy Hard, and it's a spoof of James Bond films. So and it's really funny. I saw it at the theaters, and Weird Al Yankovic sang the song. Then sang the theme song. It's like an opening to a Bond movie, and I thought it was pretty funny. And he played, like, he was lured back into the service, and he teams with a sexy agent. He's sent on the hardest mission ever to stop the evil General Rancor before he destroys the world. With high-flying laughs and high-voltage action, Spy Hard is the wackly entertaining comedy hit that has audiences everywhere howling. So eventually, this is another great Leslie Nielsen movie you should get into. This is a movie that has an all-star cast, women's cast, and I just love this film. My mom saw it at theater, and I rented the movie one day back in 1990 before I went back to school and got home from camp. The film is called Steel Magnolias, and it is funny, it is sad, it's got everything in it. It's the ladies are live wires, just stand back and watch them set off sparks. And it says, sometimes laughter is a matter of life and death. It's got a great cast. Sally Field, Dolly Parton, Julia Roberts, Daryl Hannah, Olympia Dukakis, Shirley MacLaine. It's they come together as they play bosom buddies in this heartwarming story of life, love, and loss in a small Louisiana parish. At the center of the group is a newly married girl and joyfully pregnant, despite the fact that her diabetes could make childbirth life-threatening. Terrified and angry at the possibility of losing her only daughter, she looks to her four closest friends for strength and laughter as she battles her deepest fears of death in order to join Shelby in celebrating the miracle of a new life. So eventually, it's got special features too. It's a special edition. It's got deleted scenes, bonus trailers, and it is, if you love, I just love chick flicks, and this is a great chick flick to watch, Steel Magnolias, and I just love this movie. And the one I saw like back in 5 years ago when they redid Steel Magnolias for Lifetime, it was pretty good, but it was like different, and nothing could beat the original one. I got another Tom Hanks movie that is so funny. I saw it at the theater back in 1989 when I first worked at a camp all summer. It's called Turner and Hooch. It's downright funny. It's the oddest couple ever unleashed. It is just so funny. It's about a compulsively neat detective whose tidy world goes to the dogs when he's forced to team up with a drooling slob of a junkyard dog named Hooch. Not exactly man's best friend. He turns his life upside down, wrecking his home, career, and budding romance. It's a hilarious non-stop test of wills between this mismatched duo, leading to the most unlikely friendship you've ever seen. And you'll sit up and beg for more. So eventually, I just love Tom Hanks films, and eventually, this movie is just so funny. Tom Hanks teaming up with a dog, and I've seen this movie twice at the theater. It is funny. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen. So make sure you have Turner and Hooch in your collection. Another great movie that I got. This is a widescreen collector's edition. It's There's Something About Mary, and it's with Cameron Diaz, and it came out in 1999, I believe. Yep. And so eventually, it's over 6 hours of her outrageous stuff. And there's something more about Mary. It's got a 2-disc collector's edition, so grab some hair gel, tranquilize the dog, and add a very special something to your DVD collection. More sleaze, more puffy, more Magda. Yeah, and so it has hair-raising extras. It's got the original theatrical version and new extended version of 15 minutes of never seen before restored footage. And it's directed by the Farrelly brothers. And it has an alternate opening, clay animated title sequence. And this also says 43-minute behind-the-scenes diary, getting behind Mary, exposing themselves, AMC backstory, Best Fight Award footage, Comedy Central's Real Comedy, 6 new featurettes including Behind the Zipper and Puffy Boobs and Balls, and Around the World with Mary, foreign language clips, Marketing Mary, Every Day Should Be a Holiday music video, and a Buttercup karaoke video, outtakes, and more. So eventually, this is a very hilarious movie, and everyone must have this. There's Something About Mary in this collection. It is a classic, funny comedy. Another movie I got, it's with Weird Al Yankovic that came out in 1989. It's called UHF, and this is Weird Al Yankovic's very first starring role. And it is a cult classic. It is funny, and it has special features like deleted scenes, behind the scenes footage, and a music video of UHF. It's got Easter eggs, and it's It's inspired comedy about an offbeat guy who turns a deadbeat TV station into a raging success, broadcasting his unique brand of humor. Is a like he plays a daydream. He's a daydreamer whose hyperactive imagination keeps him from holding a steady job until his uncle hires him to manage Channel 62, a station that's losing money and viewers fast. But when he replaces the station's reruns with bizarre programs like Wheel of Fish and Raoul's Wild Kingdom, where poodles fly from third-story windows, ratings begin to soar. Can George find the money he needs to stay on the air? Stay tuned. It also has Michael Richards from Seinfeld in it, and Victoria Jackson from Saturday Night Live, and it also has Fran Drescher in the film. So eventually, this is it's a cult classic, and this is, I love cult movies, and this is one cult movie you have to see. Okay, I got a few more here. Yeah, the comedy is the most ones that I have. This one is another National Lampoon film. It's called Van Wilder. It's the 2-disc set, and it's The Animal House of the New Millennium. It has Ryan Reynolds and Tara Reid. Don't graduate, celebrate, and this is the unrated version, and it's got a special features. He plays a 7-year student who has no plans to graduate. Life is like he's got a co-ed in every closet and a party to go to every night. His slick reputation even catches the eye of an on-campus reporter determined to expose the naked truth behind his wild exterior. When she answers his life and his father stops paying for his tuition, could his days as the king of Coolidge College be over? Find out for yourself in this outrageous laugh fest that you're sure to go nuts over. Eventually, it is just so funny, and it is outrageous. It's got a lot special features. It's got Burley TV specials. It's got a lot of special features that are not rated. So eventually, like, this is a funny movie, and this is National Lampoon's. It's like, if you like gross humor, if you love gross humor, like this is a movie you should get in your collection. Van Wilder. Here's a movie starring Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn. It was a classic. It came out in 2005, I believe. It's called Wedding Crashers, and it is the uncorked edition, longer, wilder, funnier. Life's a party, crash it. So it's about two guys who love to crash weddings for a living until they were guided by a set of wedding crashing rules, can charm their way into any wedding and into the hearts of every bridesmaid. But at the biggest nuptials of the year, one breaks the rules and falls for the daughter of the U.S. Secretary of Treasury, and another is left at the mercy of her stage 5 clinger sister. Being there for his buddy, he follows him to the family's huge estate for a weekend that may be even too wild for these professional party guys. So eventually, it is funny. It is hilarious. It's got Jane Seymour in it. It's got Rachel McAdams, Christopher Walken, and eventually this is a funny movie. Like, it's got special features. It's got 8.5 more minutes of deleted scenes. It's got deleted scenes in the theatrical version and so much more. It's hot and hilarious, and this is one of the hilarious movies I have ever seen in my life. Here's another romantic comedy. I just loved it as soon as it came out in the movie. It's got a great soundtrack, and it's one of my all-time favorites. It's called The Wedding Singer, and it came out in 1987 with Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore. Love the movie. It's a totally awesome addition. It's got more promo footage than before. It has 80s mixtapes, jump to a song feature, a backstage, and plenty more. And it has he's back for a totally rad encore. So it's about like 80s movie. It's about a wedding singer who can cover the hits, deliver the perfect toast, and even get grandma on the dance floor. But when he is dumped at his own wedding, he has a total eclipse of the heart and becomes the ultimate cynic. It's not until he meets a waitress that he starts to come around. However, she's about to get married herself, and unless Robbie can pull off the performance of a lifetime, the girl of his dreams may be gone forever. Like, if you love 80s music, this is set in the 80s, and this is the one movie that you have to have in your collection. The Wedding Singer. And here is another written and directed by John Hughes film. And this is a great movie. I saw it years back in 1986-87. It's called Weird Science. And it's a flashback edition. If you can't get a date, make one. Yeah, it's got all new bonus features. There's also a Weird Science TV pilot episode, theatrical trailer. Teen life is full of mysteries, but nothing is more hilarious or more fun than Weird Science. The out-of-this-world comedy that helped define a generation, showing two socially challenged computer whizzes as they set out to create the perfect woman. Like a computer-generated fairy godmother, the duo's heavenly creation guides the pair through the pleasures and pitfalls of teenage life. So eventually, like, if you love science, you love 80s music, and this came out in 1985, and this is a classic movie. It is hilarious, and it's just, like, I do have a lot of collection of John Hughes films, so God rest his soul. Like, he was the best. The 80s were the best for movies. This film I saw back in 1991 with an old girlfriend of mine. The film is called What About Bob, directed by Frank Oz. It stars Bill Murray and Richard Dreyfuss. It's thumbs up and it's a riot. I saw it at the theaters, and it's Bob's a special kind of friend, the kind that drives you crazy. And it says, Bill Murray plays a troubled but lovable therapy patient who fears everything. After seeking help from a noted psychiatrist, Bob feels revived, but when the good doctor skips town to go on a quiet family vacation, Bob, afraid of being alone, follows, showing up unexpectedly at the therapist's lakeside retreat. That's when the fun really begins. He innocently becomes the house guest who just won't leave, endearing himself to the other family members, and in the end driving the stressed-out shrink absolutely crazy. Like, this is hilarious. Bill Murray, Richard Dreyfuss. It is the funniest movie I have ever seen in my life, and I had to have it for my collection. It's howling funny, and so if you love Bill Murray, you should get What About Bob? This is a movie with Mel Gibson and Helen Hunt. It's directed by Nancy Meyers. It's called What Women Want. And this is a comedy with it's a Naughty and Nice romantic comedy we've been missing. And finally, A Man Is Listening. It's a very funny movie. It's about a man who thinks he's God's gift to women until he hears what they're really thinking. It's about a swinging bachelor scaling the corporate ladder of one of Chicago's hottest ad agencies. But his fast-track success is derailed when the agency overlooks him and hires a beautiful woman as the new creative director. As Nick prospects begin to dim, he is jolted by a freak accident that leaves him with an extraordinary ability. He can hear what women think and want. He uses his newfound gift to his advantage. He schemes to undermine her by listening to her thoughts and stealing her ideas until something happens that he didn't account for. He hears his own inner voice and realizes he's in love. It is it's a great movie, directed by Nancy Meyers, who did The Parent Trap. And it has like Marissa Tomei and Alan Alda. It's got a great cast, and it's really funny. It's like Mel Gibson. I've never seen Mel Gibson in a hilarious comedy before, so eventually this is a good movie to have. What Women Want. This is one film directed by Rob Reiner himself. It's called When Harry Met Sally. This is a classic. It came out in 1989. When I first saw it, I thought it was the most funny, brimming over with style, intelligence, and flashing wit. It's a romantic and funny, it's wonderful. Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan were a perfect pair. And it also has Carrie Fisher and Bruno Kirby in them. God rest both of their souls. It's it's about sex always gets in the way of friendships between men and women. At least that's what he believes. So when he met her, and a deep friendship blossoms between them, he's determined not to let his attraction to her destroy it. But when a night of weakness ends in a morning of panic, can the pair avoid succumbing to his fears and by remaining friends and admitting they just might be the perfect match for each other? It's got it's got a lot. It's got some special features. It's got 7 deleted scenes, original theatrical trailer. It's got 7 featurettes. So eventually, it was written by Nora Ephron, God rest her soul. And this is one of the best movies that Rob Reiner directed. And Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan was just phenomenal in this film. It's got a scene that will make you howl laughing. So I love this film. So this is a must-have in your collection. Here's another one that I love that is good. It's with Sandra Bullock after she finished Speed. It's called While You Were Sleeping. It's with her and Bill Pullman. It's a winner, irresistible, and 2 thumbs up. And it's plenty of fun. It's about a lonely subway worker who becomes smitten with a handsome stranger. But when she saves his life after he's being mugged and fallen into a coma, his hilariously offbeat family mistakes her for his fiancé. Soon the mix-ups escalate as Lucy fabricates a life between herself and a man she's never met. And when she falls for his charming brother, the situation really gets uproarious, and she's forced to make a choice between the two. A 10. Eventually, it's got a great cast. It's got Peter Gallagher, Bill Pullman, Peter Boyle. It's funny, it's romantic, it's beautiful, and it's about getting to know who you follow. Like, it's following your path, and it's like it's about falling in love with when you find the right person. So this is a great film to have in your collection while you were sleeping. This is a classic film directed by the great Mike Nichols, whom God rest her soul. It's called It's his Working Girl with Harrison Ford, Sigourney Weaver, and Melanie Griffith. It is an awesome movie. It says, for everyone who's ever won, for anyone who's ever lost, and for anyone who's still in there trying. And it's pure charm, always fun, and it's funny, sassy, sexy, and romantic. It's about a life in the corporate jungle. It's about an ambitious secretary with a unique approach for climbing the ladder to success. When her classy but villainous boss breaks a leg skiing, Tess simply takes over her office, her apartment. She takes over her office, her apartment, even her wardrobe. She then creates a deal with a handsome investment banker that will either take her straight to the top or finish her off for good. Like, this is a great movie. I loved it. Like, Carly Simon did the music, and I love Carly Simon. She's a great singer. Let the River Run. But eventually this movie, it also has Alec Baldwin in it. It's got some, like, Kevin Spacey was in it too. And so eventually this movie is a must-have in your collection. It's called Working Girl, and there are a lot of funny scenes that I don't want to say anything more. Okay, we're almost done. Okay, and this is another Leslie Nielsen film. It's called Wrongfully Accused, and it's a spoof of The Fugitive with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. And Leslie Nielsen is back again. This time he plays a convict he plays a man who's guilty of a crime he did not commit. And it's got a lot of spoofs from many different movies. So eventually, if you love Leslie Nielsen, you should have Wrongfully Accused in your collection. And this is the last one. Finally, it took us almost nearly hour and 45 minutes to go through my comedy collection. I have the longest comedy collection ever. Okay, now this one is another Tom Hanks Meg Ryan film, and it's directed again by Nora Ephron. It's called You've Got Mail. It came out in 1998, I believe, or 1999, I believe. And eventually it's like it's about Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan should win a Nobel Prize for chemistry. I agree. It's the deluxe edition, and it's called The Modern Romance Classic Sparkles in a remastered edition sprinkled with new retrospective extras. And it also has special features like it's got featurettes, it's got an HBO first look, it's got Carole King's video, anyone at all. But eventually, okay, this is and it also has Jean Stapleton who played Edith in All in the Family. Yeah, it's about a superstore book chain magnate and a cozy children's bookshop owner are anonymously email cyberpals who fall head over laptops in love, unaware they are competitive business rivals. You've got a rare Hollywood magic when you've got mail. Like it's pretty funny, and I just love it. It came out in '98, and I just love Nora Ephron's work, and she will be greatly missed. Like Nora Ephron is reminded of a movie I saw called Heartburn. It's about the story of her life, about how she divorced her husband and ended up becoming a single mother. Okay, well, that is it for my comedy section. Like, don't mind me, my throat is getting really, really dry, so I'm gonna get myself get a drink before I go to bed. So eventually, I hope you really enjoy my looking at my comedy DVD collection. So the next time I see you, I'll show you my drama DVD collection. So if you have any questions or comments, you feel free to subscribe or comment on my channel. But my major rule is be respectful. I don't appreciate any disrespect at all. Okay, so this is me once again. Good, Reshta Dixon Vixen saying good night and God bless.